Welcome back to week 10. I hope you're enjoying the class, and it's also nice to see some of you participate in the mailing list. But as always, I think be more active, ask more questions, answer more questions. It'll be fun. What we're planning to cover in week 10 is how we can actually use mobile numbers that are online, and what are the things that you can actually derive from data that is available on internet, on social media, from mobile numbers. And then we'll actually look at this one. I'm guessing you would have you would know what LBSN is. We actually did location-based social network in the first or the second week. What is location-based social network, Foursquare, all of these connections you would probably remember. So we'll actually look at what one aspect of location-based social network is, which can be used to find out where your home is, which city are you working from, where do you actually go very frequently, all that. So that's LBSN. Right. What have we covered until now? So again, every week it's nice to see the topics that are getting added here. For last week, these are the things that we added. But broadly, we've been talking about what is privacy, fair information practices, particularly in the online context, privacy policies, privacy enhancing technologies, social media privacy, identity resolutions. In the last week, we covered auto privacy, browser privacy leaks, and profiling from publicly available information, which I think will continue. A different aspect of profiling is also this cell number that's publicly available. It'll be really, really nice if you are able to connect some of these topics that you're learning in the class to outside the class. Have you ever shared your cell number online? Why would anybody share, right? There are people who could share it for various reasons. You may say that, look, I have not actually shared cell numbers publicly. But have you seen others share cell numbers publicly? Possibly, yes. Right? There are many, many times you would see the cell numbers being posted publicly. And many reasons, right? Moved city, lost phone. There are many reasons why cell numbers are posted online. And these reasons are probably valid. These reasons are necessary sometimes. Probably a customer service engineer is actually putting his number there so that people could call him for any issues with, let's take a washing machine or whatever he or she is able to fix. Right? People post cell numbers for various reasons publicly. Here are some numbers, some samples. But the thing to keep in mind is that it is critical to see that the cell numbers made public once, people can actually take it from there and use it, misuse it, all that. I think that's the theme that we have been following in the class, right? How do you use the information that is publicly available for good and not for good purposes also? So here, if you see HDFC cares, you can also contact me, blah blah blah. Customers service number here. Start calling. Do you need contact number of law minister here? And this is the more personal one. Post this number and you'll get some pictures on your mobile. All that. Very, very intrusive posts, right? Same post shown in slightly larger font. So if you look at in India, the cell number format, right? It's a 10-digit number. Earlier, it used to be only 9 starting. Now we have 7 and 8 also starting. Probably there are other starting points, starting numbers also now. And our code number, country number is +91. And if you see the way by which numbers are being shared, I'm sure you yourself would have seen writing these numbers up somewhere. You would save it very differently. Even if you just look at your phone right now, take your phone and look at the way that you've stored numbers of people that who have called you. You would have stored it in many different ways, right? +91 dash and this 91 dot blah 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 091 whatever 91 hyphen 91 hyphen 4 digits, right? All of this can be many different ways in which the cell numbers are being stored. And same variation shows up on social media also. Same variation shows up online also, right? That's the point I'm trying to get across in this slide, that when you look at cell numbers online, you're going to have all these kinds of variations. So if the goal was to collect all these cell numbers online and do something with it, what would you do? How would you go about doing it? What would you get out of this when you have all this information collected to you? That's what we are going to see today. If any of you have already done some of these cool things, please let us know. It'll be fun to know what you did. This diagram shows keyword selection, right? So basically, meaning to collect data from social, you're going to start somewhere. So here the keywords are call, ring, contact, right? Can you take these keywords and look for in tweets? Look for in Facebook that any post that has the word call. Right, so let's go to the Twitter API now. So you search for call, and then you say public bios tweets with mobile numbers, right? So when you find this word call in it, then you say whether there is a 10-digit number, whether there's any number that is attached in that tweet. This is a critical part in this, which is regular expressions and patterns to look for in this tweet that you're getting. And it is important to think about these regular expressions, because these regular expressions will define the kind of numbers that you can actually get. So for example, all of this could be converted into, say, regular expressions. But the problem is that we have to know what we are looking for also, right? Because while doing this, we also realized that the 10-digit number can be many other things also. Can be a courier tracking number, right? Can be some other part of the world also. Right. +91 probably is harder. We'll say that it's in India, but other than that, if you just get a 10-digit number, there are possibility that it's numbers that are connected to some other cell number in the world also. Right. So that's something to keep in mind while we are doing this data collection and finding the way to get the numbers from online, right? That's about the Twitter side. So once you get it, you get the mobile validation. So you need validation of these numbers also, right? You can't just take all the 10 digits from social and say that, oh, they're all valid numbers. So some level of validation needs to be done, which is getting human beings to actually check the number or find a way to check these numbers in a different manner. Same thing could be done on Facebook, But unfortunately now it is harder to do because search API for Facebook is deprecated. So you can't really search for these terms on Facebook and get it. But otherwise in the past we could collect data from Facebook also through search terms. Right. And one key theme here also is that when you start collecting contact or call or ring or something, tweets, you can also refine the search terms, right? You get first call and then look for all the tweets and look for some specific words in there which probably call with that word. Possibly the cell numbers are always there. Take that word and add it to your search term, add it to your search API. Doing the process, your search results may be much more precise. So data was collected, but this data, keep in mind that such data can be collected even now. You should, any of you interested should explore this, take it up, try collecting data, see whether you can actually do some interesting analysis with the cell numbers that are publicly available. Some students actually recently did this also. Cell numbers. I mean, even though the method that even though this diagram is specifically for cell numbers, I think you can replace this with anything, right? For example, you can think about looking at car registration number or vehicle registration number posted online. Can you get that and find out whose car it is? Can you make some connections with the Twitter handle that is posting this car picture? And can you connect to other publicly available information of the user, which we have already seen in the past? So in this case, mobile numbers, right? User profiles. This number of times mobile numbers appeared in Facebook and Twitter is here. Number of people who posted that is here, right? Category 0, category what? So ultimately, what you want to look for is this column, right? This says that total number of mobile numbers collected from Twitter is about 41,000. From Facebook is about 36,000. Number of people who posted this 41,000 numbers are 49,000 user profiles on Twitter, and on Facebook is about 36,000 users. Right. Okay. So that helps you to get a sense of what level of data can you actually, thousands of cell numbers are being collected. This ownership analysis is important is because you want to know whether the post that has come, user himself or herself is posting it or somebody else is posting it. Here are two examples, right? So post, frequent action words, call, right? All that is there. Yes, as a first person pronoun. Yes, then owner posted the number. And if I say that, for example, no Facebook next 2 days, if you want to contact me, call me here. Right. If this is there, then I think it's very clear that the user only posted the number, right? Whereas look at the other example. Everyone prank call her, blah, 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 and an Instagram link and the cell number. This is somebody else's number. There's also critically important information is because we want, meaning if you go back to the slide that I asked, right? How many of you have posted cell number yourself versus how many of you seen cell numbers posted? You will clearly see that this number is much, much higher than the first number. And knowing that others have posted is also important because because you may be very, very privacy conscious. You may not be sharing your cell number anywhere. But somebody else is posting your cell number online, right? That may not be a good idea, right? Having your cell number online posted by somebody else, which can cause problems for you. Right? So that's the reason why you need to know who is actually posting it. And later you'll also see this part, which is how we actually get this information from the user itself. Now we are collecting tweets and then seeing whether it's actually the user posted it or somebody else posted it, right? What we found is that in Twitter, so how total number of posts, you saw earlier all this 885 number, but here this table is social network, Twitter, owner, non-owner, mechanism, bio. It's coming from tweet. Bio says the number, tweet says the number. Therefore, they both should be the owner, because if in my profile, I'm not going to put your number. Hopefully, that's not the case, right? That's what this 33% is. Non-owner, tweet has somebody else's number, which is 18 of the posts that is done. In Facebook, again, the same thing. Facebook owner, post, name. This is total is 485. 485 posts has users have posted the number themselves. Non-owner 25 and is about 0.01%. So essentially what this table is showing you is that one, this mechanism, whatever you use, we can actually get this results. And it also shows that majority of the times the numbers are being posted by the owner itself. Right, Facebook has 33%, and Twitter has 33%, Facebook has 22%. Hope that helps to get a sense of what kind of data is getting, who's sharing the data, and what kind of data is getting shared. This is not a directly a social network analysis class. Otherwise, we could have actually done data collection from social media, how to actually collect this data. If you're interested, please go look at the lab sessions of PSOSM course, which is also on NPTEL. I taught it last year this time. That is spring 2021. I think week 2, week 3, if you go look at it, you'll find labs where it talks about how to collect data or to do analysis with the data that you collect from social. So one of the things that you can derive from these tweets that you get, these Facebook updates you get, is which applications are used to share these mobile numbers. There are lots of these kinds of information comes with the JSON when you collect from the social data, JSON objects. So this one is source analysis, which is, it says basically that 32% of the people are actually posting on Twitter using, so to say, Facebook as a source. Right. Cross-posting, that's what this is showing. A TweetDeck, right? TweetDeck people are about 5%. TweetDeck is a platform which is used by people to manage multiple accounts. TweetDeck is a extremely powerful tool to manage Twitter, which is you can have different slices of data that you can see. I used to use it at some point in time, but I never got to continue using it. But I know many people who manage multiple accounts use TweetDeck to powerfully use the features of TweetDeck. There's also, I think in the next slide, you will see Hootsuite. Yeah, so this is another platform that's actually very popular, which actually does show how to, I mean, it has mechanisms by which you can schedule post, set up multiple accounts, manage these multiple accounts together, and views of the tweets that you get can be also controlled. For example, in TweetDeck, you can set up one particular hashtag stream in one view, another hashtag, or probably only the user. Let's take you want to follow only, you want to look at one particular user post, whatever he or she does, there's a view only for that. Ultimately, it's all the same data, so it's not that TweetDeck or Hootsuite is giving you a view of a data that's not something from Twitter. If you just go to Twitter directly, it's cluttered, right? In some sense, it's cluttered. If you want to see all the people that you're following, tweets are going to show up in your news feed, in your feed, and there's also distraction. You don't really get only one. I mean, unless you actually unfollow people that you don't want to see the tweets, and then get only the people. That's probably a way. But TweetDeck allows you to declutter this part and then take a view of it. Only particular hashtags has been very helpful. For example, at some point in time I used to keep this hashtag academic Twitter. Stream on TweetDeck, because otherwise in Twitter you have to go search for hashtag Twitter and then look at the hashtag academic Twitter and look at all the posts that has come there. Whereas what this stream would show you is all the posts in that academic Twitter. It'll actually keep showing me in the one view of TweetDeck. Take a look if it's of interest. Again, on Facebook, where the mobile numbers came from is the source analysis here. Facebook for mobile, Facebook for iPhone, right? Facebook for Android, Hootsuite, all of that. So now let's look at the numbers itself, right? Numbers itself having is a 10-digit number, right? If you break the 10-digit number, what all you can get? You can get network operator, subscriber number. So if you look at the first 4 digits, then you can say that, okay, there is this metro, large population coverage, B circle, C circle, all of this, right? So there are different pieces of information that you can get from the first part of the number itself. And these things we actually understood from some telecom provider. It's possible that some things may have changed, but this is where this is what we had when we were doing this work. The goal for knowing the topographical information is this one, which is to know that from where the information is getting, from where the cell numbers are shared most number of times. So if you look at this table, it basically says that Delhi and Bombay are the highest. It could be biased that the total number of tweets itself that is coming up on social, total number of users on social itself, Delhi and Bombay may be high. Keeping that caveat in mind, keeping that bias of users being higher from Delhi and Bombay on social is higher, this is the table that we get. And you'll see other states from where the number is being posted. I'm going to connect to something else that we saw earlier, but hopefully you will be able to go back and look at the lectures if you need. We spoke about ocean at some point in time, right? Publicly available information on government websites. How can you collect the data? How can you put the data to create a profile? All that. So now one thing that you can do is that so there is ocean and there is this work is called Call Me Maybe. Right. Ocean and Call Me Maybe is that. So now what can you do is that you can actually put them together. Ocean is random name. If you remember, the context I was giving was railway, train, taking train from one location to another location, finding out somebody that you know is in the train and trying to talk to them. Same background. Ocean is that. Srishti Rawat, if you remember, that's the name I kind of used there. But here in Call Me Maybe, the starting point is a cell number. Oh, I get the cell number on Twitter. Now what can I do with that? So if you put these two together, now it becomes even more intrusive, right? Srishti Rawat starting name, random name, and a cell number, random name, random number. From the cell number, you could actually go to the name, or from the name, you could come to the cell number, which is what we ended up doing. We ended up actually connecting multiple users exactly in terms of cell numbers. The name, age, all of this came from the ocean. Address, voter ID, all came from, again, ocean. This one shared by owner, this we got it from Call Me Maybe. And of course, the cell number, we got it from Call Me Maybe. Right. So thereby, we were able to uniquely identify users exactly starting from two different random places. Right? And both of it to be personally identifiable, starting as name and starting as cell number. I don't know if how many of you feel like this is intrusive, but if you're from Delhi, definitely you could be identified, because we did all this with the data from Delhi. So therefore, if you're from Delhi, data can be easily identified in terms of the information that is collected. So once we were at this point that, okay, so we are able to collect tweets, cell number, and know the person's voter ID or something. We wanted to actually do some communication of this, that, oh, such kind of information could be collated. You saw this number of cell numbers that we had. That's what was your mobile number, right? So cell numbers, audio files are IVR, right? So if you, I'm assuming all of you know what an IVR is. IVR is this interactive voice response system, which is when you call up a bank today, they would say press 1 for English, 2 for Hindi, 3 for Telugu. After you have pressed 1, they would say savings account, right? And then fixed deposits, all these kinds of things, right? It's presented to you by a voice. That's what is interactive voice response system. Go look up if you need any more details there. But what we built was a simple mechanism by which take the audio files, which is audio files of asking this survey. I'll show you what the survey was, but saying that, oh, we are precog researchers, we are calling you to tell you that we found your cell number online, and and then ask them the questions about, please click 1 if you have posted the number yourself, please click 2 if you have, or press 2, so to say, press 2 if you have not posted the number yourself, all that, right? So audio files, FreeSwitch is the platform that we used, and that's the user that we were calling. We did this for all the cell numbers that we collected. This is showing you how the total, sort of say, decision tree went, which is starting call. Okay, somebody gets the call. We take the cell number from here, call the number, FreeSwitch does the call, it goes to the user, right? So that's where the user gets the call. Let's assume that UK user is you. Right? When you get the call, what all can you do? You did not even pick the call. Right? Somebody picked the call. When you pick the call, you're listening to the message, which is research from precog, blah, 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 all that. And then you disconnect. You picked and you realize that wrong. It's actually I should not have picked. You disconnect. Then listen to the message. You listen to the entire thing of precog thing. And then you say listen to the options, which is press 1 for if you uploaded the, so this is where we wanted to understand the ownership. Right? Option 2 is I'm not the owner. I did not post it. Right? Click 1 if you posted it, click 2 if you did not post it. Then once that is done, leave a feedback for what did you think about this whole data collection that we did. Some people did not even give feedback, so disconnected. Somebody gave the feedback and then disconnected. So this graph helped us to understand quite a few things. And it was a phenomenal insight into how users think about it. People came back. I have a slide which is about feedback, but I was super excited to see how users reacted to this, how people came back to me saying that how it helped them. They did not know that their numbers were online. They wanted help with deleting the numbers. All of this went on at that time. Yeah, I said feedback and it's here. Thank you for information. I've deleted. I will not post my number online anymore. I want to know how to remove my number and I don't know. I haven't put my number purposefully, but if it is there, where exactly it is there, I would also like to know that. Please get in touch with me ASAP. Thank you. It's a very nice process that you're doing and making people aware about the online frauds and telephone number frauds, but your system is basically calling business houses. So we took some of this feedback. We were actually super excited about doing something with this. Then we built the app called Social Caller, motivated by Truecaller idea, so today when you get a call, right? Today when you get a call, you see in Truecaller who's calling. And the Truecaller information is coming from how that number has been stored by somebody else who's using Truecaller. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to imitate this, but when the call is coming, we wanted to add this information saying here it is, Paridhi is calling. But the information that we got from Twitter has this information about her. Truecaller also could add this information, of course, if they know that the number where the number that is stored, if they have the connect to the social media. It's on Play Store. Feel free to take a look at it. So a test case that happened was interesting. Was they were the way that the users ended up using most of the times was typing in their own number to see whether there is any publicly available tweet about them. That's not the test case that we built for. We built it for users downloading the app, and whenever a call comes, they would actually get to see who's calling. But the test case was majority of the times, or not majority, sometimes it was used for searching their own number and taking it from there. All right. So if you're interested in this, this is the paper. Gives you a lot of details about what all we did. But my theme for connecting it today to in this course is that cell numbers, so to say, or PII, are publicly available. You can actually curate these cell numbers and use and misuse. Of course, there is a way to protect this, right? So you can have, I think the DND, all of that is one way of reducing the impact of, even though if the cell numbers are public, if your number is on D&D, you should not be getting the call, all that. But the goal is try and find not to have these numbers online. If the numbers are online also, how do you actually stop? How do you actually find ways that these numbers are online? How do you actually delete them? All that, right? I think more and more of us should think about helping people around us to reduce their publicly available information online.